Powerful new spells await. Unravel the mysteries this corrupt council are hiding. Balance must be restored in Great Kourend. Reunite this once beautiful kingdom, and you'll be rewarded generously. A kingdom divided.
Hello everybody and welcome to this week's Q&A. It's not a leadership live stream like my script says, it is in fact a Q&A. I'm your host Mods Ayiza and I'm joined by the wonderful Mod Kieren. Hello,
yo,
Kieren.
yo, yo.
Yo. And Mod Mack. How you doing, Mack? Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, not bad, thanks.
Good. All right, let's kick some things off. Let's ask what you've been up to. I guess, Mack, you will ask to speak so you can continue. What have you been up to this week?
Sure. So some of my time this week has been spent doing some hotfixes for the release yesterday, but the rest of it was mostly dedicated to design. And that's pretty much all I can say.
Oh, we're into that realm of secrets once again. We revealed one of our big secrets, and now there's another one. Ha ha! Unlucky. What about yourself, Kieren? What have you been up to this week?
What a week it has been. Well, obviously, we've just found the Kingdom Divided. You've just seen the trailer for it. What a trailer, by the way. Trailer's great. It's the quest, I think. It's been received really well as well. There's been a load of praise for some of the graphics in there and the design, the story, the world building, etc. So give that a go as well if you haven't already. But yeah, so that's been our week, the quest. But also we put out a pretty big announcement on Monday. So that's taken up some of my time as well. A Tuesday, yeah. Originally it was going to be Monday. We did actually launch on Tuesday.
Hey, things happen. All right, yeah, it has been a really exciting week. We've got some more information about those in the announcements section, which I'll go through now. So let's kick things off with ! New features. Pop that one in the chat and you'll get a nice bit of information. But we are actually finally ready to talk about one of the projects we've been working on. So one of the biggest secrets the last 12 months or so, new features are going to finally be coming to our official clients. And we are nearing the testing stage. In fact, next week, you'll be able to look forward to a variety of those features that will drop with our first milestone. You can get up to date with everything regarding that with ! New features. And then next Thursday, which is the 24th of June, we're also going to be having the client team on the stream for a more in-depth look at the new features after its launch as well. So mark that one in your calendars. It will not be one to miss. And we can go through a lot of the extra kind of like information we won't be able to cover in today's stream. But yeah, really exciting. Really happy. I think the announcement went down really well. I mean, who would have thought, players been asking for it for years and well, finally we're delivering it and everyone's happy. So I'm really excited for it. How does it make the both of you feel?
Can't wait. I mean, it's already feeling pretty darn good. It's amazing to sort of see like features like tile highlighting in the official client. So no, it's been a long road to get to this point as well. Obviously, originally we just made the C++ client and to get it on Steam and everything. So the fact that we're here now, obviously, it's been a lot of work. So it feels like finally it's bearing some fruit. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah, buzzing. I mean, the project was there kind of when I started, and I started to hear about it, and it was exciting then. So now to see it sort of come to life and bear fruit, like you say, it's cool.
I love how it's such an exciting thing, but we're all lagging so much that we're a real like buzzkill for this one. But believe us, we are really excited and very happy to have this coming out.
Will bear fruit. That is the new go-to phrase to establish it.
Okay. All right. Okay, then. Kieren is now going to be set up his own orchard, and he's going to become an apple farmer. Nice one. All right, the next announcement, ! AKD, A Kingdom Divided, Old School's 150th quest is out now. Uncover the secrets of the Kourend Council in the next chapter of the Great Kourend storyline. You'll also be able to experience the reworked Shayzien area as well as the improved Arceus spellbook. find out more with !AKD. I guess this is a good time to also announce that we are looking at making some further changes. We've done a few fixes since the release yesterday, but there's some more changes that will be coming up, and I believe !AKD will take you to the news post that details those changes. Some of them we're going to be looking to poll, some of them will be coming with next week's game update, or just check it out on the old school RuneScape news website. And next we have !Mini Roadmap. If you want a reminder of what's coming up for the next 2 months of Old School, then use !Mini Roadmap to find out what we've got planned for the not-so-distant future. And we're kind of hopeful, Kieren, correct me if I'm wrong here, but that this is going to become a bit more of a regular occurrence where we can share, you know, these milestones a little bit more frequently, so you can get a taste for what's to come in the next couple of months in a very similar format.
100%. We want to try to be more transparent more frequently.
Keep going, I need to drink.
Oh, isn't it great? That showing off the mini roadmap more often will bear fruit.
Okay, never mind. Moving on. Really big one here. RuneScape 3 Mobile has launched, or it's launched. I think it has launched now, actually. It has indeed. And now we may be a different game, but we are united by Gillinor and a love for RuneScape. With RuneScape Mobile now launching on both Google Play and the Apple Store, please join us in sending a massive congratulations to our friends on the RuneScape 3 team, as it is a huge milestone for them. I know that a lot of RuneScape 3 fans also, you know, rallied behind the old school mobile launch, so it'll be great to see some support from everyone there, because it is a huge achievement on their end. A lot of technical difficulties they had to face, being able to, you know, get everything that's in a game as, you know, old as RuneScape 3 is now. Working on mobile is absolutely incredible. So big props to everyone on the team there. And yeah, I'm going to give it a try out. I haven't played RuneScape 3 in a while, but it's I think for me it'll be a perfect little mobile game that I can just pop into. So now, as always, if you do have anything that you would like to ask the team or myself, we'll try and get through your questions from chat. So please at OldSchoolRS with any of your questions. Let's move on to some player-created content. If you want to have a look at these yourself, !UGC. But first up is some old-school RuneScape pixel art of foods, which is pretty cool. And this comes from Ginkgo Trees on Reddit. So this is what I imagine food would look like. Oh, go on, sorry,
It's a shame not West's not here, because that's like right up his alley.
He does love a bit of pixel art, doesn't he?
Yeah.
This is like Stardew meets old school.
Yeah, I
Very
love
cool.
it. I love pixel art style stuff.
Yeah, I love it. It's like so simple, but it's just so beautiful at the same time. I think I'm like pixel art is just like my jam. I love it. It's really good. It definitely bears fruit. All right, next.
There's cheese and lobsters there as well. Really.
Next image. This one comes from Matt1991, and this is titled 30th Cake. My girlfriend doesn't know much about Scape, but I think she's done a bloody good job. I think so too. It looks like a pretty awesome cake. I hope it tasted nice, Matt. Happy 30th birthday to you.
That is
Always
pretty
cool.
epic.
She's a keeper.
Absolutely. Or absolutely, as Kieren might want to say. It's going to be one of those days. Yeah, I know. Okay, next image coming up is from Black Crows 8. And this is a wise old man tattoo. And it was inspired by Olil Firefly. It's so detailed, it's pretty cool.
Does Ash know about this?
That is
Isn't
cool.
that his character? Someone's like scrawled his character onto their arm permanently.
Maybe we'll have to share it with Ash. I'm not sure if he's seen it. We'll have to go ahead and show it to him now. Very nice, very nice work.
Really nice up
It is, it's cool.
Awesome.
I wonder if I'm not a huge tattoo fan myself, like having them on me, but I do appreciate a good tattoo on someone else. I just don't think I could ever have one. But if I did, maybe it would be RuneScape related, you know. Maybe it's kind of like meaningful, I guess, for me, at least. You know, I work here, so do we all. Next image coming in from Uber Digger 77, and this is a resin printed and painted the Mimic boss.
That is epic. Love that. Love it.
I think I say this every time we see like really cool community created content, but we really need to update our merch store. Imagine we have little figurines. I'd buy the heck out of them. I'd have like a whole memorial. I can put them next to all my little Pokemon figurines. It'll be great. It is very, very
I'd
good.
love to
though.
get more. Yeah.
It's so detailed as well.
Plenty
It's
of
like
shelves to fill.
yeah. Well, you got a house to fill now, haven't you, Kieren?
Yep.
There we go then. All right, yeah, great work on that one, Uber Digger. Thank you for sharing it with us. Exclamation mark UGC if you want to see any of that yourself. Now, I guess if you haven't seen it already, we do have these images. Hopefully, Mod Druid in the background has got everything ready for us. But this is in regards to the new client and the feature set that is going to be available with the first milestone drop next week. So I guess Kieren, perhaps if you want to just kind of like take it away in terms of like what can we see here? What have we got to look forward to?
Yeah, so an awful lot of features just in the first milestone. But obviously, we've broken down everything. We've got a lot of features planned. This is just the first batch. And I know there's a lot of questions coming up, like, is this feature going to be included? This feature going to be excluded? We all touch on that, but to preempt that, a lot of those, like, this is just the first batch, milestone 1. And of course, that indicates it's going to be a milestone 2. There'll be a milestone 3, and we've got those roughly spec'd out as well. We're sort of planning to release the next sort of milestone each month, or roughly around that sort of cadence. So that's what we're looking at. Anyway, in milestone 1, we've got a bunch of different features. Enemy HP bar, head-up display. So, you know, when you're fighting a goblin, it'll show the HP bar at the top left, whatever you're fighting. Mouse over tooltips. You know, you mouse over a tree, it'll say cut tree next to your mouse, rather than just in the top left-hand corner. And you'll actually be able to toggle off the top left corner as well, so you don't even need that text anymore, potentially. But yeah, I'm not going to go through and explain every single one.
Yeah,
but obviously, there's a
bunch.
whole bunch here. If you just want to switch to the next milestone image, so yeah, there's a whole list. So the Chambers of Xeric Helper will be coming to this new client as well, which gives you the indication of like what your raid, what rooms you've got in your raid. And we switch to the last screen.
On the Chambers Helper, actually, because I think this one's interesting to point out, because obviously, you know, it's our game, our client. We can get information a lot differently compared to like third-party clients, which I believe they have to get their information and rely on like the levels themselves rendering, right? Whereas we're able to tell you the entire layout as soon as you enter without having to guess which room might be like the puzzle room or a combat room. So a little bit more advanced, at least, just because of the extra information we have available. But yeah, next image. And
yeah, last one. I think the massive one there is, as I mentioned earlier as well, tile markers in the game. So you'll be able to right-click a tile while holding Shift and mark that tile, and it'll stay marked. You can even customize the color, so enjoy it. But yeah, this is a lot of stuff. It is just the first batch, a bunch of basic features, which were probably some of the smaller things, and a lot of the work in this setup has been infrastructure, as indicated by that last bullet point, to prepare us for future ones. So, no, it's exciting. It is the start, but yeah, we absolutely love anybody who wants to check it out, give us feedback, tell us what you want to see, etc., etc. So, exciting! It's an exciting time for all.
Really is exciting, and not to forget the fact that actually we'll be able to then get all of these features also on mobile, which is very exciting too, because obviously a lot of players used to desktop and the great quality of life enhancements that clients can bring. So yeah, things such as dropped items and all that kind of fancy stuff eventually at some point will come across to mobile as well.
Yeah, 100%. There'll be the new client will be released on Android and iOS in the nearish future, but also we'll get a Mac client on Steam very soon as well. Timelines to be exactly worked out, but nearish future.
We'll hopefully have a little bit more specific information to share about the client, its features, and the roadmap going forward with that with next week's live stream when we do have the client team on. There are some questions that I can see coming up a little bit later in regards to the client as well that maybe will answer some of those that are being asked in chat and such, but we'll get to those. First, though, we do have some questions that are related to A Kingdom Divided, understandably, given it came out yesterday. This question comes in from Runner5678, and they have said, I love the Arceus spellbook update. Very excited to see how this shakes up the meta. The spells I want to ask about are the Demonbane and Mark of Darkness spells. Currently, the relevant demons you'd like to Demonbane, Demonics and Krill, are nearly immune as they have such high magic levels. Is there some other use, or is the team considering giving both spells accuracy buffs against demons?
So I know that this is something that's on our radar, and it's one of the things that came up from our feedback from yesterday. And as far as I know, we have a meeting on Friday to go through this feedback and sort of discuss it. But like you say, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense because they're demons and they should get slapped by Demonbane. So yeah, the problem is that the demons, at the moment, they just run the normal hit calculation, whereas really we need to sort of write an exception for it, which I think we should do. But yeah, like I say, we'll be talking about that tomorrow. So.
Cool. Thank you, Mack. So it's on our radar. We'll be looking into it. And it is, yeah, literally just because all the demons, they have such high magic defense. It's like, oh, this is a really good spell, but they're actually really, really defensive. But there will be change coming eventually at some point. So keep an eye out. We'll update on socials and stuff as and when we've got more in regards to that. Next question from JS Butts says, now we've seen a taste of Valamor, when can we expect to see Vala more of that kingdom? And I may just quickly note, I didn't add that in, JS Butts did. But yeah, when can they expect to see more of Valamor?
We don't know. It's the honest answer. Obviously, we got plans. We know a lot of what we want to do with it. But yeah, we're not at the point to share dates and timelines yet. But it's of course something we're excited about.
I've seen a couple of bits of content in design in the design backlog that are based around Valamor, so there's stuff there, but it's not finished yet.
I remember way back when I was a young, not even a JMod at the time, applying for my job at Jagex. My pitch was for a combat arena that sat in the Colosseum of the Kingdom of Valamor, and I'm hopeful that I might be able to just throw my weight around a little bit and maybe see if we can get that one to happen if Valamor comes in. That would be really good.
Hell yeah. So I'm dealing with a fly flying about. That's why I'm like wafting.
I had a spider in here earlier. Maybe we could trade.
Hey, Kieren, maybe it's all the fruit that you have.
Yeah, that must be it.
All right. Faithlet TV has asked, can the Ash Sanctifier also restore prayer points within the Kourend Catacombs? It would be consistent with the Bonecrusher, which used to restore prayer from Bloodvelds. I can touch on it.
Sorry, I got sidetracked there. We spoke about this. I think at the moment we've said that we're not going to go ahead with this because it would change the meta, and it would be slightly too OP if you could do both. We're going to talk about it again tomorrow, I believe, in that little meeting I mentioned. But I think for the moment it's a no, and I think that's on the update we put out on the page on the blog.
Yeah, well. That's correct. So we did post a little message about that, just kind of like addressing it. The catacombs are very, the prayer restoration is very exclusive to the Bonecrusher in there. It's for bones, and that's exactly what the perk was when the catacombs were originally polled, and we had no intentions to make it work with Ash. Otherwise, we would have included that in the poll to begin with, I guess. But obviously, feedback can make changes, and I think the key point here, maybe more than anything, is looking at Bloodvelds and Hellhounds, because those previously would have dropped bones and they don't drop bones anymore. So people that were looking to do those tasks AFK, getting a little bit of prayer restoration back, now can't. So that is a bit of a change, but it is one that we did make quite clear that because they would no longer drop bones anymore. But I think that's probably where the most of our feedback discussion is going to be. But at the moment, yeah, no big plans to make the Sanctifier restore prayer, or Ash scattering to restore prayer within the Kourend Catacombs. There are a couple of tasks in there that would just become a little bit too strong, I think, if that was to be changed. But we'll just have to have a look and see what happens based on feedback. But we are aware. Kriya HS has asked, can you please change the Book of the Dead so that the left-click option is wield? Currently, the left-click option is reminisce.
100% agree. This is probably a goof on my part, actually, when I made it. Unfortunately, we can't hotfix it, so it's going to be a wait until next update. But yeah, definitely fix that because it's not consistent either.
Cool. I think for what it's worth, you can actually benefit from having the book in your inventory. You don't actually have to wield it, do you? I believe so.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Whilst it's a little bit annoying to right click, if you don't want to actually have it worn, you can just leave it in your bags and not really worry about it that much. Cool. Jolans5 has said, now that we have a Demonbane spell, can we get a proper Demonbane ranged weapon? We already have Legends Quest Holy Water, but it feels more like a cosmetic than a weapon. What if we could use Ancient Shards to upgrade them into a viable ranged Demonbane weapon?
I wouldn't be opposed to this, but I don't want to sort of drive the Darklight out of town, you know? I don't know, Kieren, what do you think?
Just the way you said that just made me think of there's only space in this town for one Dark Demon Pain weapon. But I mean, again, I'm like you. I'm kind of ambivalent to it. I would prefer it to come from something new and unique, rather than just reusing the ancient shards by adding it somewhere else, like a Demon Hunter crossbow. But again, probably something different to just not copy the Dragon Hunter one. But yeah, I prefer something like that. But also, I don't think it's necessary for all three styles to have all the same things, right? It's important, I think, that melee, range, and magic have their own perks as well.
Cool. I mean, maybe there is space for it in the future. No, we have made space now with the equipment rebalance that's going ahead. Well, we've still got to wait for the poll results to come in, but in terms of the general kind of like nerfs, that's going to be happening, which does open up room for different ranged weapons. Maybe that could be one of the niches that it fills, but yeah, as Kieren said, where we can avoid it, let's not put stuff into old content. I know the proposed Bow of Faerdhinen is a little bit of an exception there, just because of the reliance on crystal armor, but we shall see. Right.
How long's left on that poll?
I think it closes next Tuesday or next Monday. So next week, Monday or Tuesday. I can't remember exactly when.
Get in game and vote on the poll.
Thanks, Kieren, the poll hype man. All right, Moosons
I will be
and
the eternal poll hype man.
Thank you, I appreciate it. But Moosons and Goosens has asked, or said, in the most recent Kourend Chronicle, it was mentioned that magic has a smell. Could y'all explain what magic smells like exactly, and if the smell changes based on spell type, spell book, or does it all smell the same?
Not a clue. Lore is not my forte. But certainly not the magic smell lore. I'm gonna say. What do you reckon, Mack?
I was gonna say maybe I've thought it might smell a bit like ozone. You know, like burning circuit boards, and like the energy discharge in the air. You know.
Suddenly, I do not want to stand at the Grand Exchange anymore. Oh my god. Well, we'll try and find out, and maybe in a future lore post we could go in and we could delve into the different smells of magic.
It's the aroma of dark magic. That's what's going on here, right?
Wait, never mind smells. You know what we could do? You know those you get those like all different flavored jelly beans. Maybe we could have like magic flavored jelly beans, and it's the different spells. Here's a taste of ice barrage.
That's merch store, mate. We can expand the merch store with
I'm in the wrong department, clearly.
Scented candles. Right. Get your ancient spellbook candle. Get your lunar one.
Well, I can't wait for my room to smell like burning circuit boards. Hey, my guests when they come around will love that. Oh god.
That's a fun
Call it a
question,
smell book. I like a smell book. Bit of scratch and sniff. Bloody brilliant. Alright, next question. Dev Senpai has asked, in the near future, is the team thinking of expanding necromancy? Is it possible to add vampires that have a chance to leech 1 health and transfer it to you, a ghost ice fiend that has a chance to freeze the enemy in place, a spider that has a chance to poison the enemy, an undead/skeletal dragon that has a minor chance of doing dragon breath, an undead soldier that can tank the next hit that actually hits you, etc.?
Cool idea. I'm not sure if we can fit it into the Arceus spellbook now. It's quite full. It almost seems like we need either a new spellbook or a new skill to go along with that.
Oh, don't start teasing them with
Necromancy
summoning.
skill.
They already went wild with the book From a Kingdom Divided that mentions it. I mean, that's a pretty big ask. So I'm probably going to say, even as a non-developer senpai, that in the near future, no, or no, it's just not even a probably not. It's no, but at some point in the future, like maybe it could be a consideration for an expansion of things, or as I say, maybe a new skill or something. But it's definitely an interesting concept, but it would need a lot of time and effort to look into a proper design, other than just looking at very top level concepts. Because I mean, even just the thought of tanking the next hit that actually hits you is pretty damn powerful. I can imagine a few instances where that would be very broken. So, yeah, I like the idea. Has potential, I'm sure. Next question from Jamungus, and they have said, with the Ectoplasmator and the Ash Sanctifier now in the game, can we get the ability to combine these items together with the Bonecrusher? I knew it was inevitable that someone would ask that question, literally 1 day later.
Yep. What are you going to combine them with, though? Like, glue? How do they stick together? So,
Ectoplasm.
I mean... It's just one of those things that it's like, it's probably absolutely fine to come from like a diary reward or some other item that you use to combine them together with, but like, I don't really care. It's my honest feeling. Like, I don't care if it exists. I don't care if it doesn't exist. It's just one of those things that I'm like, we can do it if you want, right? That's it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what's the main benefit? You save 1 bank space, because when are you going to kill something that has both ash and bones? I think you will.
That's true, but it does save bank space, which is certainly a legit thing. So
true. Okay, well, we'll see how many times more it gets requested, and maybe in the future it will be on a game improvements poll coming near you. We'll see. All right, next question comes from TikTok Jad. Interesting name. Would you consider increasing the duration for Shadowveil, which is the pickpocketing spell, to 2 ticks per magic level? After trying the spell out at Vyres and Elves, where it is most useful, even at 99 magic, the effect ends frustratingly fast. It seems like I waste more time fiddling over to cast the spell than I gain from dodge stuns. This would not make the effect any stronger, but it would make it less of a nuisance to use. It's like just under a minute at the moment, right? At 99 magic, 54.6, no, 50, I don't know, 56, I don't, something like that. Is it hold on, 59.4 seconds. There we go, got there in the end. I mean, that seems like quite a long time though, like a minute.
It does, but yeah, I mean, it's doubling the time essentially, but it's not really a huge buff in terms of the effect. It's just that you save runes. Like, you'd save runes in the cost of it, but it's quite an expensive spell to cast anyway, and like, we were talking about how expensive it was when we were developing it, so maybe that wouldn't even be a bad idea to extend the duration. Maybe not as much as that, maybe 1.5 ticks per second or something. But
it's one to consider the balance of, for sure. Mm-hmm. You don't want to also make thieving really overpowered as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. I'd probably err on the edge of caution here, and just say it's a little bit too early, maybe, to think of already increasing its duration. And we would probably want to see how things are when the dust has settled and more people have had a chance to use it. Because I think a lot of people have been testing it out in PVM and such more so. Yeah. And interestingly enough, as well, Mack, I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but I think I remember when I was during the blog writing phase that boosted magic levels, they count towards the duration as well. So if you had like an imbued heart, does that increase the overall duration?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. Sorry. I think they do.
I'll have to look into it. Maybe that's one way that you could potentially boost the duration without having to look at increasing the amount of ticks. So yeah, it's an extra few seconds, but it may be the difference between you fiddling over to cast the spell and not worrying about it anymore. All right, the next question comes in from Zach Flame. Will the Kourend Woodland and or the Woodcutting Guild ever be updated to be more in line with Shayzien? That style is so beautiful, I would love to chop wood or hunt something in it.
No current plans to, but do you want to see why not, right? It could entirely be something we look at. It's not the most intense area to remap because it's not really full of buildings and structure, and the Woodcutting Guild's the most complex part. So, yeah, maybe it's something we can look at in the future. Should feel like it's part of the same map,
rework.
right? Yeah, it does.
Yeah, exactly. It should feel like I know that Mod West has plans for other areas as well that we'll eventually touch on.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we've done there was Hesidius and Shayzien. We've still got the Archaeus area and such to look at, and yeah, maybe those can be included too. Okay, Citron7, I think that's how I pronounce your name. If not, I apologise. Will we see more letters in the style of Kourend Chronicles? It's a great addition to lore, seeing Gielinor from the eyes of a normal citizen. I hope so. Is my answer on that.
Same. I mean, I think it's cool. It's a nice little exciting thing to be able to do in addition on the ramp up to the launch yesterday. So if people like it, we'll keep doing it.
Cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people enjoyed the efforts that the marketing team and our editorial and CM team went to help promote A Kingdom Divided. I think some people weren't kind of like we were expecting. Not that A Kingdom Divided wasn't fantastic and great and grand, but I think from when you compare it to previous projects that we've advertised and marketed out, this one had a considerable amount of effort put into it, and I just hope to see that being the standard now going forward, as opposed to this being a one-off. Because I think it did do a really good job to show off the quest. I always found it exciting to read the posts, and bringing back as well the Posty Pete, or Post Back from the Hedge, I think it was also a really nice addition too. All right, the next set of questions are going to be in regards to the new client and its features, so we'll do our best to answer them, but it may be that they are better suited for next week's live stream on the 24th, I think it will be, with the client team. But we have Flexosaurus asking, is the master plan for the client updates to essentially reflect the current plugins in Runelite, or will it be Runelite Lite? Mostly concerned about the clue helper, smiley face. PS, very excited as a mobile player.
Right, I don't want to open the floodgates of like, is this feature going to be in there? Is this feature going to be in there? Is this feature going to be in there? What we've done is look at the most well-used features in Runelite. We've been in conversation with Adam from Runelite to help determine this list. So it's not absolutely everything in Runelite, but I think we're aiming for the vast majority of important things that are in there that people are familiar with. The question asked specifically about Clue Helper, yes, like Clue Helper will be in there. That's the sort of thing we're looking at, because Clue Helper, from our perspective, right, it's a very interesting one to think about, because Clue Helper, we're just going to give you the answers to the clues in-game. Like, it was a weird one for us to think about, because it goes kind of against the tradition of what you would do with the game. But so we'll have it in there, but it will be like you press a button and it shows the solution. It's the sort of thing we're thinking about. But yeah, it will be in there. But it's to the same extent that you can just load up the wiki on the side. That's what it is. And so our view was kind of, players are used to it. Players have it in Runelite. Why not? It's just as easy to open Wikipedia on the side. I mean, we've even got the wiki button in-game. You can just search it in-game and bring it up. It's all the same. So we felt it was fair.
That's a good point. And I guess it's probably worth clarifying as well that, say, for example, if new clue steps were to be added, I can't imagine that we'll just instantly add the solution to those until, a few weeks following, where people have actually cracked it and it's been added into the wiki and the information has been widespread.
Yeah. If it exists, you don't have to use it. But second, our general view is people still love doing clues, even though they've got the solution there. So that's why we want to add it.
Cool. All right. Common Nerd has said 2 words: ground items.
Yes, in a future milestone. If they're on about like the text above ground items on the floor and stuff like that. So.
Cool. All right. Michael Fernandez has one question. Is a boss respawn timer in consideration? That would be very useful for places like God Wars Dungeon, especially at Kriara. An altar timer would be nice too. That's like 2 questions now.
Respawn timers in the future. Altar timers, I believe, are in this first milestone.
Ooh, well, there we go then.
There you go.
All right, thank you. PM me Drum and Bass has asked, well, has said, a very welcome change. Now we need anti-aliasing. Now we need the thing that makes graphics nice and smooth and increased view distance. Those 2 alone would be massive changes.
Okay, so increased view distance is one thing we are looking at. Again, it'll be a later milestone, not in the first milestone. But anti-aliasing, we're not sure. I mean, there's a whole separate kind of project that's a little bit tangentially related, right? The idea of HD RuneScape, HD old school. What does that look like? How does that fit into what we want? Obviously, we've seen demands from it, from the community. People want it. A lot of people also don't want the graphics to ever change, right? People imagine it as this global toggle of like, oh, turn on high spec mode or whatever. But there's a lot of different ideas around that project, but we're handling it quite separate to adding features to the client and helpers and that kind of thing. So nothing more to really say on that right now.
I think the view distance for me is like one of the main reasons I use Runelite. It makes such a huge difference to the game to be able to see further. It's like playing something else. Like you can see Lumbridge from the desert, for example. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, and we should get view distance into this client. So.
I think I remember a while back actually, there was a Reddit thread posted where someone found a command for it. In fact, where they'd figured out that we were doing some tests and trials back in the day, and had to quickly get that removed. The command itself, not the Reddit thread or anything like that. So definitely, yeah, something that we want to be looking into, and we'll be refining and polishing, ready for future milestones as well. All right, Higlak has said, is the client rework going to help combat bots at all, like client verification or whatever?
Well, it will. The new client should be a harder entry point for bots. It will raise that bar, but obviously it is this kind of eternal war of attrition, an endless race. But obviously it won't help in the immediate future. I mean, bots can still use the existing client. So it won't really help in that regard at the minute.
That's fair. Thank you. There is no name on this, unfortunately, but the question I think is an important one to ask. What does this mean for other third-party clients?
Runelite will carry on existing right now. So feel free to carry on using Runelite, but I do ask, give this client a go. This is just the first milestone. There are more milestones in the future. Of course, we'll get closer and closer to Runelite. Maybe at some point you might think, I'm happy to use this one now, or vice versa. But that's our current stance.
Okay, thank you. This guy has a name, supposedly, but it's not in the actual username. Says, does having to make these features for multiple clients, that's Steam and the old client, make this type of work take significantly longer, or is there a lot of the work transferable between them?
So, our team's work, the content dev team, doesn't have much impact. So, creation of quests, creation of new bosses, and etc., doesn't really change much. In fact, somewhat it's made easier because we'll have more engine features to play with and so on. But engine side is a little bit more work because if they do any client changes that are to support a core feature or something like that, whilst we have multiple clients, we already have multiple, by the way. Our mobile client is different to the one that is already released on desktop. You have to do it in a few different places. But, it isn't like it's double the work or triple the work. A feature, generally, it's already designed, so it's a matter of just going and porting it into the other client. But it does add a little bit.
Great, thank you. Hopefully that's something that we can go into a little bit more detail on actually with the clients in themselves and their kind of experience with it. Again, next Thursday is the date for that stream, the 24th. We'll have the client team on talking about everything because by then the first set of milestones will be available to use on the Steam client. So if you haven't already, make sure you get yourselves the Steam client downloaded to get ready to play on that. And the last question regarding the client that we have for now is, are there any features that Runelite currently has the team personally would love to see added as one of the new features?
A whole lot of them. I mean, we're setting out to do an awful lot of the Runelite features that we love. Of course, that's a lot of the intention of what we're trying to do, to bring our vanilla client up to scratch, because it's not up to scratch. So, you know, all the things like ground markers, XP tracking, that sort of feature we want to bring to vanilla. I don't know if there's what else I can say on this question, but
I'm going to be really controversial and say animation smoothing. I quite like that.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
No, I know a lot of people really enjoy it, but can we just?
It's so mixed.
Good. Can we just end the stream here now, please? Thank you. That's a wrap. Thank you. No, it's fine. Okay, I'm grateful we just got confirmation Druid isn't going to end the stream, but he was going to joke that he was. But no, I'm sure it has its place. It's a very similar subject. All seriousness, I guess, in the argument between old school graphics and HD old school graphics. Some love it, some hate it. You know, some people love animation smoothing, some people hate it. Some people love, highlighting your items in your inventory, and some people hate it. So it's very much one of those. And if it's one of those things that, you know, if it was able to be enabled and I never had to see someone using it and you got to see yourself and everyone else using it, then like, what does it matter? It doesn't impact anyone at that point, right? So, and that's exactly how it works with Runelite. So I'll let you have that one back. All right. It's okay.
Cheers.
It's nothing personal. All right. Okay.
If you use inventory tags, though, it would be. So.
Yeah. Well, there's a few members on the team that may be using those, and let's just say I'm not their friends. All right, we've got some other questions that we want to get into, so let's see what we can get through. I'm really appreciating the speed of these so far, so thank you guys. Look at Jagex Arcane question mark. Yeah, everyone's lulling you now. That's what you get. That boy Pick has said, can we hear more about the Bow of Faerdhinen? What is the likelihood to get part of the buff of the armor built into the signet ring instead to open the bow up to more builds who will be hurt by the blowpipe nerf?
I'm impressed by the pronunciation.
I'm just assuming that's how it's pronounced.
I'm sure everyone will have a million different pronunciations for it. In the immediate future, I don't believe that's the intention, but we're planning to launch it. Metas are going to evolve. People will have time to play with it, and we'll see where it ends up sitting, the price it holds, and all of these other factors, right? We'll see what problems still exist, and obviously we can consider what we do in future. But our current intention is to create a strong use for the armor and tie it to that. Assuming it passes,
we're already... Yeah, we're already looking at splitting the armor up as well. Now, I know this specifically said, more builds who will be hurt by the blowpipe. I assume this means, like lower defense accounts that can't wear the crystal armor. But for those that can, the bonus damage is going to be redistributed across the items, so you don't necessarily need the full set. You can use the body and the legs with the helm, with the Slayer helm, for example, and get really, really good benefits from that. But yeah, there's definitely a consideration going forward, and this is something that we spoke about to quite some length internally, actually, when we were looking at the equipment rebalance and what decisions to make. Because, at the end of the day, lower defense builds will be more negatively impacted now by this nerf than higher defense builds. And as much as people like to turn around and say you chose to limit yourself, it's like they didn't choose to obviously be impacted by this nerf. But I think essentially what we decided internally anyway was that it doesn't really make sense to try and make the crystal armor lower defense. It has its place and it sits quite well there right now. But what we do have is a really big gap for low defense range gear that could help benefit these kind of like different accounts. Low defense, high offense. It's always been a really interesting kind of like concept, at least for me. I always enjoy that. Take a bigger risk to get a better reward kind of thing. So we will be looking in the future to have more content that will help out with those changes. It's just going to be something that comes further down the line. But yeah, maybe the Signet Ring at some point could be something that helps with that too. Maybe an upgrade to it of some sorts with some new content. Swag Off Bro. They have said, has the team considered locking Amethyst behind the hard diaries to access the Amethyst mining area to help reduce the bots there?
I'm all for anything that makes life harder for bots, but are we going to risk punishing actual players by doing that if we lock it?
The honest truth, to approach something like this, we would go and get data for it. We'd get our aliasing, just run the request. Give us an idea of who's interacting with Amethyst, would they be able to do the hard diary, etc. Which is important to consider. 92 mining. I mean, yeah, everyone does call it out, right? Like, it's already got high requirements, so it doesn't necessarily just work. But
at the moment, but then why would skillers really need the Amethyst outside of mining them, right? Because if you're not going to do combat, you don't really need the combat benefits from it, I guess. But yeah, even now, like, just in a few seconds, there's like a couple of things to consider. So as you said, Kieren, I think waiting on data is probably going to be really important.
Also we can also go and prompt the anti-cheating team to go and take a look at this specifically if it's getting heavily barred and they've not given it enough attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing actually that I'll just point out, just because that's just reminded me. In fact, earlier today I had a very brief chat with a member of the anti-cheating team about LMS, and they're going to be looking at LMS in particular with the nefarious accounts that are basically like terminators within there. So hopefully we'll see some improvement as well in LMS, because I know that's been becoming a little bit more of a prominent issue within the community, especially within the game. So yeah, fingers crossed we will see. But yeah, in addition to that as well, we did say that we're going to look to add new areas for Amethyst mining too, because we expect it will be a little bit more crowded. I know that doesn't really help with the situation in terms of automated accounts mining it, driving the price down, but it should help alleviate some of the contention, at least for spots. Right, we have a question from Questcape, and they have said, could the Doomsayer be given an option to re-enable the warning before clicking Edgeville / Ardougne, a lever, to take you to 55 Wildnerness? Currently, it's the only warning in the game we cannot re-enable once turned off.
Sure. I don't know if there's a particular reason why that's the only one. Feels weird that it would be.
I'm guessing it was just implemented separately to the other system, and that one might have been missed when the Doomsayer was created. I'm not sure. Either way, yeah, it's the short answer. We don't want people accidentally teleporting back there if they want to get a warning. The other option is to make left click on that lever, always give a warning, and I had a right click, quick teleport option if you want to avoid the Doomsayer altogether.
Or just don't click it. That is the other option.
Just don't click it. All right. We have an interesting question from Murder Pura. I think we spoke about this in the past a long time ago, back in the Mack days, I believe. But they've asked if there are any plans to create a development kit for players to make small game changes and submit them to Jagex to validate and poll. Take the success case of Runelite as a reference, but now for in-game changes that will always be deemed too small or not impactful enough to justify the dev time.
For me, this would be amazing if we could pull it off. Just because I love the idea of being able to give players the ability to create their own game content and have other people come and play it. Now, for obvious reasons, that's quite ambitious. I mean, even our dev tools are not exactly the greatest either because of how old a lot of the old systems and stuff we have to deal with. So it's an ambitious thing, but it's something we have talked about. Like, how could we have an element of this? How could we bring this into our ecosystem? And for me, it works for this game really, really well. Like, we have this community-driven core. We're on here every single week talking to the community. We do everything through our polls. wouldn't it be amazing to be able to let players create a bit of content in some sort of region of the game, or somehow bring that into old school somehow? I'd love it, but obviously it's a very hard project to imagine exactly how it's going to work right immediately. That takes a lot of time to investigate, scope out, like, how could we approach this? So no promises, of course, but like ambitiously, I'd love it. I'd love to do it.
Scripting might be a challenge, but we could maybe look at getting like the mapping tools out there. That would definitely be a huge boost to player created content.
Cool. Yeah, just the prospect of it I find really exciting, because I know how I consider it, the same as modding, and there's so many games that have had such a huge breath of life just like thrown their way when they introduce modding tools. And it's kind of insane to see what community members are actually able to pull together. So we should
always like this
idea.
Hopeful. I've always liked this idea of like putting in sort of like a dungeon creation system, where you'd have sort of some mapping tool where you can map out your own dungeon, and you can put in like pieces of pre-scripted interaction. So imagine we write a huge list of different interactions, like for an NPC, for instance. So you can give it this mechanic, you can make it do this mechanic, you can give it dialogue. Like, you can add a bunch of different things, tools that the players could then add to this NPC, or trigger when the player opens this door, it'll trigger something to happen. Like, so you can almost build a whole little infrastructure of a bunch of different tools to create something awesome that other people could go and then play. So imagine going to this dungeon entrance and you see this huge interface appear with a list of everyone else's user-created dungeons, and you can just click one and I want to play that one. And, I'm beginning to imagine how far you could take that. Imagine if you could rate them and you could see all the popular ones, which ones people have done and struggled with. Like, I love that kind of thing. It's in a similar vein to this, but obviously it does not quite as far as here's the dev tools. But I love that kind of stuff, because I think it can really just add a lot of creativity for the players, gives you something completely else to go and do. But it's like, it's kind of Super Dungeon Maker 3, that kind of thing, exactly.
It would be
The
really
creator could offer. The creator could put like a reward at the end, and then the people go in there and risk their stuff to get that reward. That could be really cool.
Or maybe we'll have some very dangerous dungeons players will create, and finally the safety PVMers will lose their gear once more, just like back in the day. And there'll be a huge outroar. You run into one and it's just instant death. Oh, well, that happened. It would be really cool to see. I'm going to continue praying and hoping for it. All right, next question from Play OSRS. Definitely do that. Can we see an old school RuneScape clan section on the old school RuneScape front page with a list of current clans to make it easier for players to have a look at what clans are around and might want to join?
I would absolutely love this. We've been looking at the website itself. There's a whole project going on to look at how we can redesign the website, make it a lot better, make it usable on mobile, all these other things. I would love this to be a future thing we look at, getting clans presence on the website. Of course, we've added clans into the game. That's not the end of never doing anything to clans again, because, you're right. It needs to be easier to find a clan. Lots of different aspects. We want people to be able to find little communities, new friends to go and spend their time on RuneScape with. So,
cool, thank you. RJM 0007 says, do you think you could add a take-all option to seed packs? I just recently traded in over 100 spirit seeds, and it's annoying to have to spam click each pack. It's a lot of spirit seeds.
Shouldn't be hard.
Like, wouldn't you only be able to open like 3 anyway, and your bag will just become full, or do you have to like open them all into your bank? Because you get quite a lot of different seeds from seed packs, right? Or maybe it's just like open all on one. So instead of having to like keep clicking them until the seeds come out, you can just like right click open everything.
Maybe you could like use them on a master farmer and you can put them into your bank for you. Something like
and you have to pay them gold for the convenience. Yeah, it costs money. But it sounds like there's probably something that you could do there at least that could make it a bit more convenient for those that are hoarding seed packs at least. Cool. Connor RS has said, can we please buff the drop table of the Grotesque Guardians? Oh, I know you love this one, Kieren.
We'd love to take a look at drop tables, not just Grotesque Guardians, but beyond that as well. I mean, it's long also been the consideration that gargoyles themselves are overpowered, and that might be part of the puzzle. Nerf gargoyles a little bit, buff Grotesque Guardians a bit, you know, and a dual approach there. We've already made obviously some changes to Grotesque Guardians, which was I think the first step was make the fight quicker and not drag out for so long. But obviously I think it's clear it's still not rewarding enough. So.
Okay, maybe we can dedicate one of the future kind of like game improvement sections. You know, like we do poll 73, 4, 75. We've got poll 76 coming up next, which I think we're going to dedicate more towards PvP kind of things, but. Maybe one of those in the very near future, we could actually finally get around to doing it, because it's one of those things that we always say we want to do and then never actually do. And I think it's about time, like very similar with the equipment rebalance, we just have to bite the bullet and get it over and done with, really. Yeah,
100%.
So I'm just, planning the roadmap out here. Apologies to all of the production team, my bad. IGN Chili Crab has said, thoughts of skill guilds in the unfinished desert area.
What guild?
We were playing around. we were talking about a thieving guild a while back, which kind of might make sense if there was like sneaky desert people. That could work. Or like a hunting guild.
There's a lot of bandits
sneaky desert people
in the desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, thieving's already got a bit of a life in the desert in our game, right? Pyramid Plunder and the bandits and the Menophyte stuff. So it definitely works to be able to do it. So
maybe. Well, yeah, we'll see. Lazark RS. Okay. A few weeks ago, there was talk of another potential clue expansion. If this were to happen, could it be done in a way that doesn't make the rate of third age reduced the way elite clue scrolls previously were, because of having added a dozen new mega rare rolls?
Yeah. I think we'll try and avoid that if we did any further additions, because it's not really fair that you're third, if you're going for your third age or anything in particular, that just becomes rarer. So the way we'd counteract that thing by adding more on the mega rare table would slightly increase the chance of getting to mega rare table, for instance. Just trying to avoid that. But as for a clue expansion, what do people want from a new clue expansion? There's not really space for any new tiers. We could add a batch of new clues, batch of new rewards, of course. But I'd love to do something bigger with it.
Yeah, I guess we can just have a little interesting point coming through. There's feedback from you about how we could expand it. I know that I believe Mod Elena was on one of the Q&As where we talked about this, and we did say that we were going to look into something with the elite clues because some of their drop rates are just broken and they're not meant to be. I'm sure we said we were going to look at polling that in a near future poll, and I believe that at the time we said it would be added on with poll 76 maybe. So when that's ready, there may be something in there already in regards to elite clue scrolls. But don't hold me to that. Can't 100% remember. I apologize. It's been a long week, a long few weeks, in fact. But yeah, that aside, if you have any ideas on a clue expansion, then just let us know, and we can have a look. Dragrothus has said, in the December Gazette, there was mention of a blood talisman and blood rune crafting in Mauritania. With Theatre of Blood Challenge mode out, blood runes are out of stock nearly 24/7. Are there any plans for a better way to get blood runes?
Yeah, we have a design for a piece of content in mind. I think we talked about it a little bit in one of the gazettes a while ago. So, yeah.
Nice.
More info in the future.
Thank you, Kieren. All right, this is the last question that we've got gathered for now, and actually, pretty good timing, in fact, too. Twin Turbo has said, with clans out, I'm using clan chat a lot more. Is it possible to change the way messages are sent in old school RuneScape? Instead of constantly having to do a command, could we switch the channel that all of our messages are going to be sent in, similar to other games? If you want to talk in a party in other games, you do /p, and all your messages in the future will be sent to the party until you specify something else. Maybe you could change the tab to cycle through the public clan last player messaged. I mean, you can already do that, right? You just click on the clan tab and it's clan chat.
Yeah, so you can click on the clan tab. Now, I get the point here because it's slightly different. You can click on the clan tab and all your messages will go to clan. However, you cannot read the other messages, right? That, I think, is the difference. So you can't see your game messages, etc. That's the point. If you can do like /clan or whatever, I think is it /c. But obviously that's only for one message. You just got to, I think you got to prefix your message with /c and then type right. Just correct me if I'm wrong. But no, I'm entirely open to redesigning chat a little bit to try and make it better. We're aware we don't exactly like the idea of typing 3 slashes before you send a message to a certain channel or whatever. So
great. All right, it sounds like it could be a nice little bit of a quality of life improvement there at least, because I can imagine it's frustrating, especially when you forget as well and you go to say something in your clan and you just accidentally post it in public channel. A little bit awkward at times. Yeah, that is the last of the questions. There's just one point that I'm going to make, just because I see it getting mentioned in the chat a fair amount. I did put a little teaser out on my Twitter earlier this week about the Wilderness Changes blog. So a very quick update on that. The blog is finished in terms of its early draft. It's currently being reviewed by the team and our editorial team, who will be going over it. And then once they've got all that together, we'll be getting ready for release. So unfortunately, I'd hoped that it would have been able to go out this week, earlier this week, in fact. But a few things came up that meant, priorities had to shift just ever so slightly. But it's going to be very early next week, I think. I don't want to give an exact date, but it will, without a doubt, unless something absolutely insane goes wrong, it will go out next week. I think what's important, though, to note about this, and you'll realize when you read the blog, is that don't be expecting like huge, massive changes. We're not looking to do a wilderness expansion or an entire wilderness rework here. There's a lot of information that's going to come into the blog. It's quite lengthy, one of the longer blogs, because, well, I wrote it and that's just what I do apparently, is write long blogs. But there's a lot of like fundamental changes, core changes. We go over the survey that we did and how players responded to that, and then we look at other areas. And there are some pretty big changes that are coming in there, and there's going to be a little bit of new content, but most of it is going to be around how can we actually look at balancing the things that need balancing and making the pieces of content in the wilderness that currently exist work the way that they were originally intended to, and provide the amount of experience or gold or other things that they are, where they rightfully should be at. The one thing that's not going to be in there is the Wilderness Bosses rework, and I'll just say that now. We're going to be doing that later this year, and that's also touched on in that blog. But the Wilderness Boss rework is going to happen this year, but it's one of those where there's no point just going in and, in all honesty, looking at changing a few of the mechanics of a boss or making it so that you can't save spot them. They need to be rehauled entirely, and that's the intention here, is to essentially take that out so that we've got more time to actually focus on it as its own project. So again, very similar to like the equipment rebalance and my note before about the drop table rebalance. It's one of those things we've said we'll do for years. We haven't. We are going to now. So we've got this opportunity. So let's at least try and do it as best as we can. So that'll be a whole new overhaul. We've got a load of new unique rewards that are very specific to PvP, in fact, that will potentially be coming from there that you'll be able to see. But that's later on this year at least. And then we've got, obviously, the likes of Deadman for everyone that's interested in that coming out later this year too. So that's pretty much going to be PvP for the year. But I just wanted to make sure that I talked about that so that you can understand. Don't expect to see the Wilderness 3. It's not happening. All right, not yet anyway. But some very interesting changes, and I'm very interested to see what the feedback is on it. Right, let's just quickly go over the announcements once more. ! New features. We are finally ready to talk about one of the projects we've been working on, 12 months in the making. New features are coming to our official client, and we're nearing the testing stage. So you can actually look forward to a variety of features that will drop next week with our first milestone. get up to date with everything with ! new features. And next Thursday, which is the 24th of June, we'll have the client team, on stream for a more in-depth look at all of the new features after its launch, and they'll be able to answer some more very specific questions regarding the client and the roadmap and plans going forward. !AKD will give you information on A Kingdom Divided, which is Old School's 150th quest, which is now out as of yesterday. Uncover the secrets of the Kourend Council in the next chapter of the Great Kourend storyline. You'll also be able to experience the reworked Shayzien and the improved Arceus spellbook. Find out more with !AKD. Mini Roadmap. I just love Mini Roadmap. If you want a reminder on what's upcoming for the next 2 months of Old School, then use !Mini Roadmap to find out what we've got planned for the not so distant future. And then last but certainly not least, RuneScape Mobile, or RuneScape 3, has launched on mobile. Now, we may be a different game, but we are united by Gillinor and a love for RuneScape. They've now launched on both Google Play and the Apple Store, so join us in sending a massive congratulations to our friend on the RuneScape 3 team, as it's a huge milestone for them. They're insanely proud. Massive congratulations, and as I said, a lot of RuneScape players rallied behind the Old School mobile release as well, so I'd like to see that our community will do the same. And that's pretty much it from me. Kieren or Mack, do you have any final words you want to say?
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Stay hydrated.
Absolutely stay hydrated. Well, I appreciate the both of you joining me. Thank you so much for helping answer the questions. Thank you so much to Mod Spear and Druid for helping out with production, and Light and... Oh, Spear's off. Okay, it's just Druid, one-man army. Heck yeah, there we go. Good job, Druid. We have Mods Light and Mod Sani helping out in the chat, and all of the other J-Mods that interacted with you. And of course, a massive thank you to everyone at home that tuned in, watched, sent us your questions, and were pleasant as always. Hope you have a fantastic evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Powerful new spells await. Unravel the mysteries this corrupt council are hiding. Balance must be restored in Great Kourend. Reunite this once beautiful kingdom, and you'll be rewarded generously. A kingdom divided.